Okay, so let's talk about the summoner build and full healer. So let's talk about the talents first, and basically in the first tier, nothing is good, so you just take something. It doesn't matter what, honestly. You never use Vampirism, never used Hellion because you use Lurker, so I just take Avid Shadows, just for the kicks. In the second tier, Bloodstream is really bad. It heals for actually nothing, and it gives you blood, but you don't really need blood because of, I'm gonna explain why later. So blood is basically useless, and so you just take Blood Ages since it's really good, and that's it. You go into tier 3, you take Plague of Mending and Fear. You take Fear because you don't really need damage, and if you don't take damage, you are gonna run out of things to take really quickly. Plague of Mending itself, not very good. It's also really bad, particularly because of the other rubies we have, which is, where are they? They're right here. So Bloody Sacrifice is basically better Plague of Mending. It's not better, but it's just a lot more usable, a lot more often usable, and I'll explain how later. So Plague of Mending is just a little stronger and very situational. I don't like it, but there's nothing else to take, so I take that. Obviously in the next tier, Aspect of Healing, Blood Ties, I mean just healing stuff. And here, Healing Injection is actually worthless. It's really bad. You never ever use it, and I just took it because there was nothing else to take, and I had extra talents. In retrospect, I'm not sure if I can put these 3 talents into Dark Vigor because of the way the talents work, but I would try. I think they're definitely worthless here, but I'm pretty sure the only reason I took them is because of I needed to spend some extra talents, or alternatively put those 3 in the Ghostly World. Also pretty good. Now Searing is really good. Blood Ties and Searing are both really good heals. They're saves, and usually the combo I use is Blood Ages followed by Searing followed by Blood Ties. And just the way that math works out is that Blood Ages it does a bunch of stuff. I'll explain what later, but it basically gives you target defense. Searing does a little bit of damage to them before healing them, and since this scales with percent missing health, it makes the Blood Ties heal more. So technically when someone is really low, you want to use Blood Ages, Searing, and Blood Ties. Now that being said, you don't want to always do that. If the target is really low, you want to use Blood Ties, but if they're about half health or something, that's the combo you want to use. You want to use Blood Ages, Searing, and then Blood Ties. So after that, Ghostly World, just because there's nothing else to take and it's utility, so it's pretty good. Sometimes comes to use, especially in PvP. You also use it sometimes. You don't like cast it in battle, but before battle you would prepare it sometimes and then just use it on someone for like 4-second like CC. Dark Veil is a very good skill. It basically sets the target's health to 1, and that seems pretty bad, but basically they can't die in that time period, and also you gain a bunch of bonuses such as they receive a lot more healing from you, and well, there's something else. There's like I believe it's like they receive 15% more. Yeah, there you go. While your Dark Veil is active on a target, all your outgoing healing is increased. So basically, you just get a bunch of bonuses while you cast Dark Veil. So if your tank is very low, you want to use Dark Veil, again, Blood Ages, Searing, and then Blood Ties. It heals them basically for full HP. Because of all the healing bonuses and brutality, it just heals to full HP. Now, in the final tiers, Lurker is obviously the pet, so we use Lurker and Dark Renewal. Well, Lurker for blood, but yeah. And Dark Renewal is the best skill you have. Basically what it does is it does a little bit of damage to yourself and heals the ally for quite a lot of health. And the reason that the health that it deals to you doesn't matter is because of these rubies. which is Bloody Sacrifice. Again, that's what I was talking about when I said Plague of Mending. Because if you look at it, it says 128 per second. And if you look at Dark Renewal, it does its own base health, which is, I mean, base healing, which is pretty good by itself. But also the way it works is there's this little thing. It's basically, if you can see, it says 5% of health every second. So basically, it hurts you for every second of suspension, and it channels for 3 seconds. I believe it procs four times though. I think there's something wrong here because I think it actually originally sustains for 4 seconds, and then you take these rubies, which are actually broken because it says Bloodstream and Blood Feast, but in reality, they also reduce the cast time of Dark Renewal as well. That's just a mistake they have because I tested without them, and without them, the Dark Renewal suspension time was 4 seconds. However, it still did the same amount of healing. So I'm pretty sure that these rubies actually also reduce the channel time on this, but they don't reduce the healing. It just makes it tick faster. And basically what that means is, since it procs the damage to yourself part procs 4 times, it makes Bloody Sacrifice proc 4 times as well. And the Bloody Sacrifice heals your entire party for 73.66. Obviously it scales down with all the healing bonuses you have, like healing aspect and such. But basically it makes you heal for a lot. So just to put it in perspective, I think Plague of Mending procs 3 times. It says 2.3 seconds, and it says, I'm not sure how many times it ticks, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 3 times. I think it procs 3 times. So basically, base healing is 128 times 3 for 2.3 seconds. Now, for this one, you get a lot of single target heal, and also you get Bloody Sacrifice procs for every single one of them. So the base healing is for 3 seconds, you get 73.66 times 4, and that is about 300. It's like a little bit less than 300. So as you can see, it's very comparable. However, Dark Renewal also heals the main target by a ton. It's not a ton. Well, I mean, it's a lot, but it's a lot. So yeah, Dark Renewal is really, really good. Then Dark Palm is also something I personally forget to use a lot, but basically it increases your healing. It says it hits the target every once in a while. For every 3 seconds. Okay. So basically, if you hit once, it hits 3 times. Okay, so I see how it works. So basically, if you cast it on the boss, you get first you get 5% more healing, then you get 10% more healing for a few seconds, and then you get 15% more healing for a bunch. However, if you cast it on a pack, or if the boss has summons and the Dark Palm can hit multiple targets, then it really increases your healing by a ton, and up to 50%. But that's never gonna happen because it hits 3 times, and it hits in AoE. So basically, what you want to do is mainly just cast it on the boss, just for a little bit of extra healing. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal if you don't, but I mean, if the boss is like close to dying or something, you might as well. It doesn't hurt you or anything, so just go and cast it on the boss. I mean, a lot of times the party will be full HP anyways. And well, and Dark Vigor is I don't really use it for anything. I mean, it's you can channel all your spells while moving anyways, so it doesn't really do anything. I'm not a fan. Never use it, except it just decreases the damage you take and you don't deal any damage. You just take damage, but and I mean, I guess it's good, but not really worth it. It uses global cooldown, and you don't really want to use that. That's really frustrating. So it's not that good. But I mean, you don't have anything else to take, so might as well take it. Now in the first Ruby field, you only want to take stats. Stats are really good. You really like stats, so we take the stats. Everything else is for damage or dealing damage, or if you deal critical attacks, whatever. So you don't want to take that. Second field, now, here's what I want to talk about. So the base of this build is, here's what it is. So you take the rubies for stats, you take all 9 of them. Well, I mean, I guess 11, all 11 of them. You take all of them. Well, no, actually, it's not 11, it's 10. You take all 10 of them. They're must-haves for healers. Brutality is good, determination is good. Both of these really good. Obviously, critical chance is crucial. Vigor is amazing for everyone. You want to take all of them. Now, these catabolism rubies, as I said, they look really bad, right? They say Bloodstream and Blood Feast. Blood Feast is this ability, which deals damage, and I'll explain later the implications of it, but basically it just does a little bit, and it's really useful for other builds, not so much for our build, but it's not bad. It basically it speeds this up, so usually it's 3 seconds, and it's gonna be faster. As you can see, I'll demonstrate. Well, I mean, I guess 3 is the reduced one already. So yeah, I think it was 4, and now it's 3. Anyhow, so yeah, so basically it does that. And as you can see, I'm full health. And the reason I'm full health after using it, even though it does a bunch of damage to myself, is because it also procs Bloody Sacrifice, which deals damage to me and then heals me because of Bloody Sacrifice. So it works out. So yeah, it's a really strange ability since it doesn't really heal anyone for much. And think about it this way: if you use Blood Feast, you're healing only. With Bloody Sacrifice, you deal 10% damage to yourself, and I mean, that's about it. And if you use Dark Renewal instead, it also heals someone for a lot of health. So honestly, Dark Renewal is just strictly better than Blood Feast, at least at the base level. On the base level, it's just strictly better. And it also says Bloodstream. So Bloodstream is this one, and we obviously don't take it. So these rubies look really bad, and that's what I thought. And I'm like, yeah, they really look really bad. But what I figured out when I actually dropped them and I went to test it is that they also reduce the Dark Renewal channel time. And when I went, I was really surprised because it lasted a while, and I was like, what's going on? I don't understand. And that's what was going on. Basically, Dark Renewal was casting a whole second more, and that felt really clunky. It felt really bad. I had to cancel it a lot of times by jumping because oftentimes you can't afford to channel Dark Renewal. It like fully channeled for 4 seconds, so you definitely need these guys. They basically increase the healing of it by 25%. Since it basically does the same healing but in less time, so you have an extra second to do whatever you want. And think about it this way: global cooldown is a second and a half, and so if you cast it in 3 seconds and then you use another skill immediately after, that's 4.5 seconds, and casting it originally is 4 seconds. So basically in the same amount of time with these rubies, with Catabolism, you can use full Dark Renewal and follow it up with, I don't know, Searing maybe, and Searing heals for a ton. So it works out to be a lot of healing, and it actually is very profitable to take these. Now these rubies are pretty bad. So let's talk about what they do. Every 3 of Lurker's attacks, they deal basically the same amount of healing, and they do some damage, but this damage doesn't matter. But they do the same amount of healing per 3 attacks. Now keep in mind, the Lurker has to attack 3 attacks. And they heal all enemies for a bunch. Now, also, notice this, it says within 8 yards. 8 yards is crucial, it's rarely gonna happen. And as you can see, the healing number is the same, however, this doesn't have a range. So basically, and this procs, obviously, as I said, with Dark Renewal a lot more often. It's a lot better, and you just want to take these. Very, very good. So these, however, not so good. I personally would love to drop them. I forgot to switch my build last time before the Water of Death disappeared. But yes, I would absolutely take these two out. They are not good. Now, one with shadows, it's a useful one. I like it. And especially if you don't take these ones, these two, you want to take this one. You want to take Bloody Screen because it makes your blood ages better by reducing it by extra 10 damage, and baseline is 15, so now it's 25, and 25 is a lot better than 15. So you definitely want to take these two rubies. It's a lot better, and you will have to take this one. And honestly, it's just good. It basically means that you can't get one shot, and honestly, knowing that you can't get one shot in Astral helps a lot of times, because as a summoner, when things get really rough, you deal a lot of damage to yourself, and sometimes you keep yourself low just to keep your allies high. So you really, really want to have this just to make sure that in those moments you don't accidentally die, because it could happen easily. Now, obviously, as I said, Path of the Rebirth is really, really good, because when you save someone for Dark Veil, you cast Dark Veil on them, you want them, they're going to be at 1 health, literally 1 health, and you want to heal them up to full as fast as possible. And the thing is, Dark Veil lasts 6 seconds, right? Yeah, 6 seconds. And you don't have 6 seconds to heal the target full. You want to heal them to full as soon as possible and then continue healing other people. So honestly, you really want this ruby, because for 6 seconds, you only need to heal 66% of their health instead of 100% of their health, because this increases by 50%. That's how the math works out. So basically, you only need to heal 66% of their health instead of 100, and then they'll be full health. So honestly, it's really good, because you'll be needing a lot of healing after using it. Here, this is what I wanted to talk about. So obviously, if you take Blood Feast, you're gonna take Blood Circulation, absolutely, because you're already squishy even with it. You're gonna be super squishy without it. Must have. Then Washing with Blood, it's questionable. It's not really good. It doesn't really do much. You want to cast it sometimes, like when you cast Blood Feast sometimes. You don't want to channel it. What you usually want to do is you want to, because I run a lot when I heal, so usually if you're running, what you want to do is you want to jump and press 4. What it does is, as you can see, it gives me temporal acceleration buff, which this ruby does. It gives you temporal acceleration for 3 seconds. Well, I think it's 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds. And it's kind of good, but usually your support will have it anyways. So in PvE, it doesn't really matter. Immobilization also doesn't matter at all. The only reason we take this thing is because we want to take Step Through Shadows, which is a blink towards a target, and this is how it works. You select the target, you click Step Through Shadows. Oh wait, guess you can't teleport to this one. But yeah, you just select the target, you click, and you teleport to them. It also gives you a bunch of blood. It gives you like, well, they nerfed it now, so I think it's like 4. I think it's like 4 blood, which is still pretty good, considering it's mainly a utility spell and you want to use it to teleport. So yeah, that's fine. Now, I usually like taking it, but I can see a world where you don't, because if you drop this one, you can also drop this one for sure, and so you can take 2 more rubies, and I'm gonna say which ones later. So you can omit these 2, but it's up to you. Now, as I said, these are must-have. This is also pretty good. The same reason this one is good. Yeah, as I said, Borrowed Life, you want to heal the main target really quickly and then continue healing everyone else too. And usually, if you have to use Dark Veil, then things are getting pretty heated anyways, And so basically, if you use Dark Whale, you get 15% more healing for 6 seconds. Literally, for 6 seconds, you increase your healing by 15%, which is really good. Now, here's where the discussion comes in. These rubies, Blessing of the Dead, they reduce incoming damage. Now, Avid Shadow thing doesn't matter at all, since you won't be using it anyways. And they reduce the incoming damage though. I can see a world where you drop these 2 rubies and take these 2 instead, because it makes you take less damage, or I mean these 2 rubies as well. So far I want to drop, I dropped these 2, and I could drop these 2, and I would take these 2 instead because they reduce damage, and potentially Bloodletting. It makes you cast everything a lot faster. 30% of your health, current health, is kind of a lot sometimes, but I think it might be worth it. I can see a world where it would be worth it. That being said, you don't want to use it all the time, and the only thing that increasing the rank does is decrease the cooldown, and goes from a minute 20 to a minute and then 40 seconds, and you don't want to really get it rank 3, because that's not a spell you want to be spamming. That being said, I can see you taking it on 1 and then casting it on the hard time at the boss. So let's say you know some stuff is about to go down. For example, on that island, on that Allod, where the last makes circles on the ground around you like this, and then you have to like go around, and he starts like using AoE that hurts for a lot. You know you're about to need to heal for a ton, so you might want to cast it beforehand and then just have it help you out heal everything. So I can see you taking it on 1, but I don't think you're ever gonna use the spell twice in one fight. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So I think getting it on rank 1 is just good enough, because you don't want to be using it on packs. You only want to be using it on bosses. And so I think rank 1 is fine. Now in the last tree, here's where it gets tricky. So I mean, not really. It's all pretty simple. You want to take obviously all the blood rubies, really good because they increase your healing too. And having a lot of blood is good too. Then you take Flow of Life, really good. You take Symbiosis. Well, okay, hold on. Let me talk about Symbiosis in detail later. But Healer's Motto increases your, basically makes you tankier while you're casting stuff. Dark Renewal and Bloody Stream heals 2 party members within 30 yard radius around the main target with lowest health for 24%. So basically, it does 24 and 24% of extra healing, so to other people. So basically, it heals for 50% more health. So yeah, it basically all adds up. So along the lines with Bloody Sacrifice and Healer's Motto, it's really good. Makes you tankier too, so that's really good. Okay, now these 3 are basically, it scales with critical healing, and it makes you heal for more. Basically, every time you crit by healing, your next healing will heal more, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially because you run a lot of crit, and Dark Renewal procs 4 times, and so as you can see, well, okay, I casted it once, I got 2 stacks of it. Let's see it drop. Oh, it lasts for a while. But yeah, basically, if you're lucky enough, you can cast it once, and it's gonna give you all 3 stacks. And then when you cast it a second time, yeah, there you go, 3 stacks. When you cast it a second time, it heals for a lot more, and then it gives you more stacks. So that's really, really good. Now, Symbiosis. This is the reason that Blood Ages is actually really, really good. And as you remember, we took rubies to reduce the damage by a total of 25%. Now you also heal for 30% of the healing you deal to the Blood Aegis target. So this is why you want to Blood Aegis people who are low, even if they don't necessarily take damage. The reason is, if you can see, Blood Aegis doesn't actually use up global cooldown. So as you can see, I'm gonna press Blood Aegis and then Blood Ties, and they're both gonna go out at the same time. As you can see, they both went on the cooldown at the same time. And the reason is this one is same as Howl of Death. Where is it? Howl of Death. It doesn't use up global cooldown. So basically, you want to be using this on cooldown. Literally on anyone. You just want to be spamming it whenever you can. And the reason is, all your spells deal damage to yourself. As you can see, Blood Ties hurt yourself. This also does a little bit. It doesn't really do damage. This one doesn't really do damage to yourself. But yeah, basically you Searing does a little bit. But yeah, you end up dealing a bunch of damage. Sometimes you just get hit by something and you're low. And so because of these rubies, it makes you get some of the healing you're dealing to them. So for example, if you have a tank and tank is at 50% health. Tanks usually have like 50k health, and 50k health is a lot. And when you heal them to full, basically, well, let's say you use Blood Aegis, Searing, and Blood Ties combo. It heals them, let's say to full. It might not, but let's say it does. And it heals them for like 25k health, which is, if you get lucky, you get 30% of that. 30% of 25 is 7.5 health. 7.5 thousand health. That's half of your health. That's literally half your health. So just because you press this, which makes them tankier and it doesn't cost cooldown time, you get half of your health back just because of that. But also you want to be spamming it a lot. Now, continuing with this tree, this is the reason, by the way, these rubies are the reason why it could heal for so much, because I said the Blood Aegis also increases healing because of these rubies. So obviously, really good. Now, phlebotomy, when you deal damage to yourself, you get a drop of blood. As you remember, Dark Renewal hurts yourself 4 times. So basically, let's see. It says, where does it say the blood? Okay, loses a drop of blood per second. Because of these rubies, you don't actually lose a drop of blood, because this thing takes a drop of blood per second, and it also gives you a drop of blood per second. So as you can see, well, hold on, it's that I promise that's how it works. I don't understand why. Okay, well, I mean, sometimes I guess it does. Anyways, basically it's really good. Phlebotomy is really, really good, because more blood is really, really good. Now, I'm not gonna pronounce these. Oh, it's Plaguebringer. Never mind. Plaguebringer is really, really good, just because it gives you 150. Just think about it. 150 caution and sustainability. Now, let's see how many I have. I don't have that many, but caution, 150 from rubies. Sustainability, also 150. Sustainability is not that key, I guess, but caution is really good. Caution is amazing. Also, yeah, efficiency of healing increases by 50%. I guess that's also pretty good. Huh. Now, as I said, Bloody Sacrifice scales really good with your other skills. Bloodstorm, critical healing with 50% will generate a drop of blood. It's only 1 ruby, It lets you get a lot of blood. It's amazing. So I mean, not amazing, but it's good enough. So you take it. Path of Life and Death allows moving while using casting healing spells. So basically, you can do this. You can move and cast Dark Renewal. Makes you very mobile. That's really good. Definitely take this. Cellular Recovery, Dark Renewal, Plague of Mending, Bloodstream, 30% more. Why not? Dark Renewal, main healing, 30 more percent. That's amazing. Now, Cold Flame is a ruby that makes your... Wait, I'm really confused. Why are they calling it cautery? Oh, I know why. It's a poor translation. Because in Russian, it's actually closer to cautery than searing. But yeah, basically it makes searing proc earlier. I think it starts off at something absurd. It's like I think the initial delay is like 6 seconds, then some of it gets reduced by leveling the skill up, and then the ruby too. And basically, as you can see, I heal. Well, I can't heal myself because searing. I need to be in battle for this. But we can go to Polis. We can go to Hammer Polis, and we can just find some mobs and we can attack them and see what's the cooldown. Meanwhile, let's look about this one. Blood Pact. When summoner inflicts damage to themselves with Bloodstorm, basically with anything that heals, you get 1 stack of Blood Pact for 100 health. So it stacks up to 1,000. 1,000 takes a long time to stack, but what it does is outgoing heal is increased by 1%, well 0.01% for each stack. Now, as you know, it scales up to 1,000. 1,000 times 01, that's about 10%, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So when you stack completely, it's 10% more healing. That being said, it says when used reanimation, absorbed blood pact effect completely, healing the target for 33 for each stack of the, 0.33 for each stack of the effect. Now, let's talk about this. Reanimation when healed. Reanimation itself is supposed to be over here, and then the rubies for reanimation here. Well, guess what? Reanimation after the nerfs is now absolute garbage. It's utter trash, and it's unbelievably bad. It's not. Its healing got nerfed by 48%. Yes, it was really strong to begin with, but 48% is a lot. And basically now it's completely unviable. You don't want to take this. Now, as of this, the only reason you take it is because you do damage to yourself either way. It happens. You heal, you do damage to yourself. And it just scales up passively. So it's like throughout the battle, and if the battle is a little bit longer, you actually manage to stack it up to full. And it feels good because you do more healing. Now, okay, we're gonna use Searing now. As you can see, only takes 2 seconds to proc. So yeah, 2 seconds is really good and a lot better than 3 seconds. 3 seconds or 4 seconds or 5 seconds, that's a while. Basically the way this timing works is, I'm gonna show you again, that if you aggro this guy, and I'm gonna tell Lurker to stop, if you use Blood Ages, Searing, and then Blood Ties goes out like a little bit before Searing actually procs. And the reason for that is that the global cooldown is 1.5 seconds, and Searing procs after 2 seconds. So basically, it's gonna have this 0.5 second window where Blood Ties are gonna proc first, and you want that since you want Blood Ties to be proccing first, since you want more healing from it because it scales with missing health. Now, so reanimation is complete garbage. So these rubies for bloodlust. Now, bloodlust is absolute garbage nowadays, and the only reason I took these is because I didn't really know what else to take, and I wanted to try these out. Now that being said, they're complete garbage. Don't take them. As I said before, take these two instead. If you have some leftover rubies, take these. Maybe take a higher rank of this. Doesn't really matter. I think you can take these two out, put them in here. You can take these two out, you can put them in here. Now I also have the locust ruby, so maybe you have a little bit less than me, so you just have one of these, and it works out perfectly. And that would be the build. That would be the full build. Now about the stats. Here are the stats that I use. They're a little bit messy right now, and I'm kind of like experimenting a little bit. And I have 300 critical chance and 164 crit damage. The reason for that is because crit damage is really good. Crit damage is the best stat in the game right now because of how well it scales. As you can see, at only 164 stats, it's already 52.8. And obviously you need to actually crit for crit damage to apply, but since we have about 50% crit, well, like 45 I guess, but it's actually a little bit higher I think. But anyways, so let's say about 50%. So since we have 50% crit, so 50% of the times you crit, and every time you crit, you deal more healing by it. Now, I'm gonna explain how critical damage works, at least how I think it works. I'm not sure, but this is my guess. So base damage or healing is 100. Let's say base healing is 100. Critical chance, it makes it deal 50% more healing. So if you crit, you do 150 damage or 150 healing. So the way it looks is that, oh, instead of 50% extra, you do 50% plus 52.8. So you would do 202.8 as a crit. That's what it seems like. Now what my thought is that it deals 150 healing as a crit, and then 50% more on top of that. So instead of 202%, you would do about 200, what is it, like 230, 225? So actually it's even a lot better than, because it says buy implies plus, but I think it's multiplicative instead of additive. So I think critical damage is even better than people think. Now, this will increase. I think, I'm not sure, but I think as we get more stats, you want to get this to about 350. You want to get this to about 250. Double attack, I don't know. I heard it's really good, but I'm not sure, and we definitely don't have enough stats now. So you don't want to mess with it now, but I think in the future it has potential. Swiftness, I am very skeptical about swiftness. A lot of people say it's really good, and the reason for that is because it makes your blood ties just very like quick, but I don't think that's necessary. I think blood ties are fine as art, and but I think the main reason they use it is for Dark Veil. So if you have about 250 swiftness, your Dark Veil gets, it's 40% CDR. So Dark Veil would get reduced by 36 seconds. So it goes from a minute 30 to 54 seconds. That sounds really good. I would love to use Dark Veil multiple times in battle. That being said, I don't know if it's worth 250 stats. Now, it's also important to note that it also makes you able to spam Blood Ages. And I think that's the main reason why people do it, is because Blood Ages, you can just cast it on everyone. You can keep 3 of these up at the same time, which is kind of nuts. But I don't know if it's worth it, because you can already keep 2 up, and it's, you're gonna have to test this, but I'm really not sure. But yeah, so I don't know about swiftness. I don't know about double attack. I do know about critical damage and critical chance. Both are excellent. Now, you might want to take a little bit for now off of critical chance, but I kind of like this because I feel like a lot of your healing is tied into crits. So I feel like getting more crits is just better. So I kind of tried to raising it up a little bit more, but we'll see. I mean, I think these are pretty good. Now, proficiency in healing, I don't really like it because let's just say it scales the worst out of all three of these main stats because it's just linearly up, goes by 1% per 10 points, I think, or maybe like something like that. Sounds about right. But determination is actually one at maximum determination. It is 1.5 times better, so 50% better if you keep it at 100 all the time. Now you're not gonna do that as a healer. As a DPS you will, but as a healer you won't. And it's still good though, especially in Summoner. And the reason it's good in Summoner, because look at my determination bar. Well, it's not gonna really show here, but basically, as you can see, no one is doing damage to me, but I'm managing to raise my own determination up just passively because I do damage to myself and I have to out heal it. Summoner's healing scales with determination very well, because unlike other healers, Summoner can actually make damage up. No one has to, like, if you're doing a boss and no one is taking damage for a little bit, your healing is not gonna dip, because throughout that time you can be spamming these spells, Blood Ties and Dark Renewal, just on yourself or on your tank or anything. And what they do is they not only increase your determination, they also stack the Blood Pact, because you deal damage to yourself, and so it stacks the Blood Pact, and it keeps your determination up. So determination is really, really good. Now, brutality, I don't know about it. The reason I have 176 is you can see 90 comes from rubies and 86 comes from equipment, and as you can see, it's these four. And as you can see, there's nothing I can take. It's brutality, determination, nothing else I can take. Brutality, determination, well, I guess critical chance. But at this point, I don't really want more critical chance. I think I have enough critical chance. So honestly, I really like having a bunch of brutality. So I think it's great because if your target is low, so for example, I put myself and well, I can't use Dark Veil on myself because I'm not in combat. But if I cast Dark Veil on myself and I go to 1 health, brutality really helps Blood Ties to heal me to a bunch. Basically, with Dark Veil and Blood Ties, I'm gonna go to a lot of health from nothing just because of brutality. And I really like that. It helps you save people a lot better when they're low. So I go these two stats. The ratio of them, I really don't know. But I like this a lot. I think 280 determination is really good. At least I dig it. I like it a lot. You may try with, let's say you reassign and you go, I don't know, maybe, well, 300 brutality and then something like this. Again, you really don't need proficiency, because proficiency is usually used to like jump, like, what is the word? Jump up the stats in the beginning of the fight. Summoner doesn't need to do that because you can do damage to yourself. You can just use things for nothing and just stack it a little bit, so you don't need to jump start anything. So determination is fine. So I like it a lot, but people might want to go brutality instead. And that's the build I use for Summoner.